The dragon is just as likely to save the world as break it.
Logain is played by Alvaro Morte, who is fantastic. You could tell from his first audition that he was the only guy who could be Logain.
He'll betray you, just like your parents.
And so it gives us this great story where we learn about the male side of channeling and what it means to start to see the madness come to someone. The production of this battle sequence was amazing because it felt a lot like the actual sequence. It's supposed to feel chaotic and disorienting with explosions. One of the things that's really important to us with the show is trying to put as much on camera as we can and do it in camera.
We have like explosives going off. I have earplugs, I actually can't hear anything. It's crazy that this is my job.
Karenna, who is the Captain General of the Green Ajar, she is killed by Logain. It's agonizing for her warder, who feels her death like it's happening to him, because that is the nature of the bond between a warder and the Aes Sedai, that they feel one another's pain.
Step in!
And it's very rare that an Aes Sedai falls in battle. Nynaeve, her power is accessed through tremendous feeling. So when she's feeling something incredibly strong, in this case a sort of tremendous urge to protect someone, she releases this bountiful surge of energy, bigger than anything I've ever seen.
She not only is saving all of our characters, but she is also doing it in front of a bunch of Aes Sedai who are going to be very interested in this woman who is more powerful than any of them.
There are beginning to be tensions between the Red Aes Sedai, led by Lilandrin, and the rest of the Greens and Moiraine. They all have their different beliefs as to what they should do with the dragon, if and when he or she ever is reborn. Karenna definitely was the person that was kind of keeping all these different ideas and these different beliefs at bay. And now with her gone, it's exciting to think what could possibly happen between here and the White Tower.
104 is really a microcosm of the political machinations of the Aes Sedai in the book series. And I think that's an interesting wrinkle that the show starts to expand upon. You start to realize that Moiraine is perhaps on a more secret path even to her sisters of the Aes Sedai.
Coming?
The Tuatha'an have a very specific culture in the books, and they believe in it really, really powerfully.
They're the people of the leaf. They are pacifists. So as we were doing our research, we found this tribe in Peru called the Orilla. And we chose them because they also believed in reincarnation. So it was perfect. When I saw the pictures of these people, their main color palette was gray and pink, which were colors that didn't exist in any of our other cultures. That was my inspiration, and we went from there. And the layers of clothing they would have on really fit the way that they would be out in the elements and traveled in these caravans.
We have 8 caravans here that we've been building for months from scratch. The look that we get for this is just like the gypsy caravan.
I love the story of PERRIN and Egwene with the Tuatha'an because it's filled with a broadening of our world and an understanding of a different way of thinking about it. Robert Jordan did 2 tours of service in Vietnam, and you really see this recurring theme in the books of nonviolence. And so it was really important to me to find a way that you could connect to this idea of nonviolence viscerally through this story that Ila tells.
There's only one way to end violence. Everybody, everywhere has to stop.
There is truth to it that if all people stop violence, that's the only way for violence to actually stop, and this is how they believe they can achieve that.
And tell me, has your life been better or worse since you picked up that axe?
What happens right at the beginning of PERRIN's journey, that's always in the back of his mind. Anything to do with aggression or violence. He's kind of scared of this destructive nature inside of him. When those moments come, when he has to do that, you know, if he explodes again, I think that's going to be incredibly exciting.
Shooting Karene's funeral was really incredible because it just happened to be snowing. And it's one of those things where you kind of stumble into something that's even more beautiful than what you planned.
It was frigid, snowing, terrible conditions, which sounds like not something you'd want to do, but it helps so much to inform your emotion. Once you got up there, they had actual graves dug. They had mummified dummies in these graves. And Stepan carried Karina's body up the hill. And it was one of the most visually stunning moments I've ever seen as an actor.
We really see Stepan's grief at having lost his Aes Sedai Karene, and every time we go to Stepan, you usually see a shot of Moiraine or Lan afterwards and how his pain is affecting the two of them.
The pain. That's the only thing I have left of her.
It's very common for warders to have suicidal thoughts and to go into a deep depression if something happens to their Aes Sedai. And that's what we see with Stepan.
In episode 5, we wanted to start and end it with a funeral and really connect this feeling of what it means to be an Aes Sedai warder through these two funerals. One of the ways we represent that difference between the masculine and feminine is we tried to find two sounds that only women could make and only men could make. So in the opening of the episode, you hear kulning, which is this Nordic cattle herding call. And it's a sound only women can make, and it's the loudest sound that humans can make. And then at the end of the episode, we have this Mongolian throat singer doing this very masculine singing where you produce two tones in the back of your throat. And so it was just another way to try to layer in that kind of balance between the genders. Filming the Stepan funeral scene was a hugely emotional day for everyone. The writer of the episode, Celine Song, did a ton of research into different funeral ceremonies around the world. One of the things she had really keyed in on was this idea of a lead mourner, someone who sort of takes on everyone else's grief.
The Lan Mondragoran, relieve us of our grief.
No one in the room is really allowed to cry or to project emotion, except for the designated mourner, and that's Lan, which is really tricky because Lan is someone who doesn't show emotion. So I struggled with that a lot. I didn't know what his relationship with tears would be. But I thought he would understand how to scream. And so that's kind of how I approached it, is just sort of finding a way to scream out this pain.
It lets us get a window into a character that would normally not express his grief in that way. But also the fear of what it could do to Moiraine or to him if they lost each other. We had to lay everyone else's grief onto him so that you could sort of take him to this heightened place.
I didn't even hear you come in.
Stay back!
Oh dear, you humans are very excitable.
One of the characters we were all just so thrilled to bring to life in the show is Loial. He's a real fan favorite of the books. He's one of my favorite characters. And it's something we really had to get just right. And it all came to life when we found our actor, Mohammed.
This is it. Let's go.
He brings all of the joy to the Wheel of Time crew that the character of Loial brings to the Wheel of Time crew in the books. Salli Richardson-Whitfield, who directed episode 5, she really took on Loial as like her challenge and her thing to bring to us.
How good that looks.
My favorite thing is when you see her, his hands are so beautiful.
That is very odd. I like oddities.
She did an incredible job working with prosthetics, hair, sound, all of these different departments to create this character who feels both completely of our world, but also distinctly different.
Always in such a rush, these humans. Never taking time to properly prepare for what they're walking into.
Episode 6 gets us inside the head of Moiraine to a degree. She's still guarded, because I think the world of the White Tower is the one where you never really know who you can trust. You are never sure of how politics have shifted in your absence.
Well, let me tell you something about this room with all the amazing actresses that we have. It's supposed to be a room of this great power with all these different women with their own agendas and ideas and secrets. And I think that might be true for real. We have a lot of powerful women, and the energy in there and the acting that's going on in that room is pretty much beyond compare.
The hall of the tower and the White Tower itself, it really felt like walking into a palace from a very long time ago. One of the challenges of creating a fantasy world is to not seem derivative, but still take pieces from our culture and the cultures we understand to give people kind of a touchstone. If it feels so different, then it can feel kind of sci-fi or alien.
I love the way that Salli Richardson-Whitfield shot the first scene in the Hall of the Tower. I always felt it was like a sort of constellation where she had the camera rise right up through the central atrium, and you saw the different aja marked out by colours, like kind of jewels in a box or chocolates or something.
Within each of those ajas, they come from all the different cultures. We created designs for each culture, then we shifted into color, and then we shifted for variety into each of the actors. I think we did like 28, 3 of each house, plus Moiraine, plus Liandrin, plus the fabulous Sophie as the Amyrlin seat. And it was spectacular. It was like such a culmination. I mean, I just couldn't even believe we got there.
What were you thinking?
One of the big pieces of pulling that curtain back on Moiraine is meeting Siuan Sanche, the Amyrlin seat. It's pretty clear that there's a romantic relationship of some sort between them in the books, but we wanted to bring that to the forefront in the show because it's a huge part of Moiraine's life. You so rarely get to see her personal relationships with other people, and when you're representing her on screen, you really want to see the emotion and love she has for the people who are closest to her, which is Lan and Siuan.
This is the most forbidden relationship that you can imagine. This is like having a relationship with the Pope. It's very high stakes, the game that Moiraine's playing, and you see that this woman who puts her cause before everything else will still indulge this terribly dangerous love that she has.
Come.
The last scene that we shot before we were shut down for COVID was Siuan's first meeting with Egwene and Nynaeve. And it was really emotional for all of us. It's a scene about what is happening in the world, and that the world is changing and the world is turning, and that they're gonna have to step up and be ready to face that. And it is just so emotional how it came through from those actors on that day, because the world was kind of falling apart. Maddie and Zoe delivered incredible performances in one of their most important scenes of the season under these horrific circumstances. The Waygate is really important to the story. We really wanted to have it someplace iconic and where you get this really beautiful, sharp cut against the skyline. That said, it meant we were on top of a hill that was completely exposed, and it was wind coming through like you've never felt before. So it was really daunting from a production perspective to shoot that sequence. But in some ways, the weather was great for the show because it just gave this very ominous feeling of what's to come.
We see our team enter this dark world, knowing that 4 of them are heading to the Eye of the World and potentially will never come back.